Welcome back to Deadlines and Detours. We took our little Halloween break last week, but we're back with Will from E.ON. Such a fantastic chat. I always enjoy talking with Will. We talked about presentation skills. We talked about AI, digital twins, even put in induction charging on cars on the motorway. Super exciting conversation, always is. Enough of that. Let's get straight into it. Welcome back. Thanks, everybody. I've got Will with us today. This podcast, we're coming to the end of this, but actually this podcast has been not just industry experts, but people who have made an impact on my life and different things. And I only worked with Will for a very short period of time, but you come across certain people, and Will was definitely one of those people that just came in like a sledgehammer, and it's like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. I've always been quite random in the way that I approach different things. I then watched Will do it with a lot more finesse, a lot more skill, and a lot more sort of refinement, and thought, okay, well, maybe I'm not completely mad, and maybe there is something to this. But yeah, so welcome, Will. Really good to have you on today. For anyone who doesn't know you, I wonder, just do a little bit of a background. Who's Will?
Yeah. So how I always introduce myself, I always talk about my family. I've got 5 children, and around the Sunday dinner table, we often have some interesting conversations. And a topic that keeps coming up is how our generation has screwed up the planet. I can't really disagree with them too much. So I'd like to do something about that. And to be honest with you, a bit more recycling just isn't going to do it. So that's why I use my skills in product development and venture building to run a big venture team at E.ON to really look at decarbonising the planet. So we've got 3 missions: how we decarbonise, how we add social value, and how we reduce fuel bills. So that's what I'm doing, building new innovations that do those 3 things.
And to everyone that's listening, that's probably they're thinking, wow, that is a lot going on. So what is there one particular project you can sort of touch on? I know you're across so many. Well, let's put it this way. The one that you and I sort of had a touch point on was sort of digital twin and those sort of things. And I know that fits into a wider piece, but how would, say, something like a digital twin help do that sort of thing you're talking about?
Absolutely. So E.ON has got a strategic energy partnership with a town in the Midlands, Coventry. And with that city, we are looking to do those 3 things that I mentioned: decarbonise, add social value, reduce fuel bills. So digital twin will allow us to understand within a city what the energy flows within that city look like, who, for instance, is in fuel poverty, what the EPC ratings of all the buildings are, and then work out where we could put retrofit actions like solar panels or heat pumps to actually decarbonise parts of that, and what difference that would make. So understanding a city and understanding the energy in a city is critical to actually taking it forward and doing something about it.
Yeah, definitely. And to get to this stage, I mean, you talk, even when we spoke about, just you have so much knowledge in this. How did you sort of fall into this? I can't imagine you just sort of woke up one day and said, okay, right, I'm gonna save the planet with digital tools. What I know you say you talk to your kids about it, but was there a conscious change from, because you were at some big consultancy firms, were you doing that there, or is this sort of something that's, it's been close to your heart and you kind of move forward with it here?
I joined Fujitsu about 6, 7 years ago. And to start with, I was running a big consultancy practice there. They wanted to set up a new practice around healthcare, and they asked me to do that. So I looked at the healthcare sector, and what I started doing was building digital products that look directly to help frontline NHS staff in hospitals, so doctors and nurses, for instance. And a couple of things we did then. So this is interesting. Nurses spend about 5% of their time, and 5% is like 2 or 3 hours a week, just looking for things. So
Right. Okay.
stands, infusion pumps, wheelchairs, stuff like that.
Actually looking for, as in they can't find them. Right.
That's
Yeah.
right. Absolutely. Walking around the ward looking for things. So what we did is we put RFID tags onto these items and then exposed them to your phone or a tablet so you could see where the nearest one was. And that just saved them so much time. A ridiculous small thing that was saving every nurse 2 or 3 hours. And what we did is we found a hospital. I had a friend who was the CIO at Sandwell Hospital in Midlands. And what we did is we talked to them about using them as the test bed for these digital products. And they allowed us to trial these things out, to run lots of discovery workshops on what they were doing. Another big one, because it's Sandwell, it's in Birmingham. One of the big problems is multicultural diversity and language. So what we did is we created an ID card, so just the standard ID card they had, and we put in functionality that connected to an earphone, and anyone that spoke to a receptionist or doctor that was wearing one of these ID cards in one of 80 languages would translate in near real time into English back into their earphones. And then if we gave them headphones, it would do the same from whatever, from English to whatever language they were doing. I mean, a fantastic
Yeah.
time-saving things, because before that, they had to find someone that was a translator.
A translator, yeah.
And um, it was going really well, really well. Fujitsu were talking about buying a hospital in Japan to be a test bed for this. And I was, all lined up to pitch to their board about it. And then COVID struck. And
Right. Yeah. The
uh,
killer of all things.
exactly. And of course, all hospitals, including
Yeah.
Sandwell,
Oh, of
just
course.
doing
Yeah.
any innovation whatsoever, and just focusing on saving lives. So what they did, they were quite impressed with what I'd done in setting this digital hospital up, and sort of digital innovation, and they created a new group in Japan focused on this digital innovation and sort of next big thing. And I ran one of the groups there, looking at energy and the environment. I had 27 Japanese product managers working for me, and I never met them once. So
What language were they? Were they native? Assuming they weren't English, wasn't their native language. So that must have been a barrier.
it was a huge barrier. And,
Yeah.
from this room for 3, 4 years, I managed this team, and we did
My
some great
gosh.
stuff. But yeah, and a
Yeah.
lot of them didn't speak English fluently. And we'd use Teams, the translate function in Teams, to
Wow. Right. Yeah.
communicate, which it had its challenges.
Going to say, I imagine it did have its challenges. So that takes you through, and then that sort of takes you kind of into E.ON. I guess for me, like I say, bringing people like yourself on, people quite often like, oh, how do you get into doing what you're doing? And it's a difficult tale. How do you? Because everything you've just told me there is just really exciting stuff, right? That's fun stuff. You've built a career based on doing great things, but actually fun as well. So where how did you find yourself into that? Where did you tread that so you're actually playing with fun projects and making a difference?
I'd like to say, Matt, all through my career, I've been doing that. They often say find a hobby that you get paid for, and that's kind of what I did. For 20 years before that, I was working at Capgemini, running transformation programs. I really enjoyed doing that. I love making a difference, and I love solving complex problems. And that's what presses my buttons. That's what makes me get out of bed in the morning. Solving those problems, helping people to move forward and change.
We've got quite a love of PowerPoints. I remember the Mona Lisa, I think, was the one slide that was it. I think that's something that really resonated again with me when I sort of sat and watched you sort of doing your presentations as well. In this space, and certainly technical spaces, it's often there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of slides, there's a lot of content on slides, but the ability to put decks together, actually take people through a journey is incredibly important to you as well. I would imagine you spend hours poring over those fine details that people don't notice, but it means everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you summarized what a consultant's job is, it's to make the complex simple. So turning very complex problems, challenges, concepts into something simple that people can understand. And I love stories and always have done. And I think can't remember the name of the author, but the guy that wrote *Sapiens* and *Lessons for the 21st Century*. I don't know if you've read
Yeah.
his books.
No, but I will have a look. Yeah.
I'll put them on after.
Please. Yeah.
They are something everyone should read. But what he was saying is that everything's a story. If you think about it, so cavemen sitting round the fire, talking about stories about woolly mammoths to now, stories have been so important. And even some of the constructs that we've got today, so things like politics, organizations, money, they're just stories.
Yeah.
Money has no intrinsic value. It's a story that we tell each other that a £5 note is worth £5, and everyone believes it, and
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And it's the same. So the way, because stories are so important, being a storyteller nowadays is increasingly more important. And my children had a love of stories from a very, very young age right up to now. Look, my eldest daughter is doing a degree, a master's in history. And what's history? They're just stories.
Greece. Yeah.
So I think that love of stories just goes through the generations. But that's why, if you can certainly add stories into your presentation, then that adds more value. But the presentation itself should be a story. It should have a beginning, middle, and end. It should, be structured in a very specific way that it takes the listener through that story to a natural outcome.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say our time at E.ON, I think it's rare. What I noticed there is it's rare in a big corporate like that to have that creativity go through it. What I noticed there in that short time is that you had a team, and you're working to a team where everyone sort of had that storytelling and that creativity. How did you go around that? I'm assuming that was part of the hire process to bring like-minded people in, because trust me, I've worked across most, but that's rare. That's not a normal thing to go somewhere where you have however many people were in that team, all bubbling off those kind of ideas, and everyone wanted to have a point in. I mean, that's just something to be proud of. And how do you kind of foster that?
I honestly have been incredibly lucky, Matt, in this role, that I've been able to hire my own team.
Yeah.
And you don't normally get that
No.
opportunity. In fact, I've never had that opportunity before. So I've really focused on the people that I want to have within the team that I think have got the skills to take the energy transition forward, and us to win that battle for the energy transition. And part of that is passion, enthusiasm, intelligence. Part of it is storytelling and creativity, and having that sort of balance between those two things is absolutely what I was looking for.
Yeah. Well, that, kind of, you've almost answered my next question, but I was going to sort of say, if you've got someone now 25 looking to sort of take their sort of career forward, especially in tech, and want to make a change, what would you say to them? How would you say to them to sort of stand out and be a bit different, and where should they put their focus?
I think I'll answer the second part first. As no, AI is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
obvious thing that people should be
We're going
focused
to get into AI in a minute, don't you?
nowadays. That human computer interface is I think the second part of it. It's what they need to do, I think, would be work hard, focus on what they're good at, and start delivering value. You never always be authentic, I think, is an important aspect. Don't worry about failing. Lots of jobs out there, but there's only one of you out there. So don't worry about failing. You can always find another job, but it's best that you're authentic. A very wise man once told me that there's two things in a job that you should always look for. That's learning every day and having fun every day. And that's certainly what I try and instill
Love
in
that.
the team,
Love
that
that.
we learn something, but also we have fun. So do those
Yeah.
two things.
Yeah. I think that's nail on the head. And when you say about being authentic to yourself, I think for a lot of my career, certainly through even up until my sort of early 30s, I was presenting the version to a business that I thought that business wanted to see, rather than when I started being a bit more Matt, which for good and bad was, then my career went, trajectory just changed. And I don't think it's necessary because I was any more skilled at things. It's just when you're authentic and when you're who you are, you've just got more of a natural ease. So all of that's gone and you can focus your sort of concentration over here.
I've got a story about it actually, Matt, if you want to hear.
Please, definitely.
I went on a course, and it was a presentation skills course. And we all took it in turns about presenting. And I went last. And, I'd spent my life presenting. So I thought I was really good at this stuff. And I can't remember what the topic was, but, I sort of presented it, the old adage, tell people what you're going to tell them it, and tell them what you've told
Yeah.
them. Started off, right, I'm going to tell you about this. There's these three things. There's one, there's two, there's three, and then a conclusion about those three things. And sat back down thinking, I've nailed that.
Yeah.
That's it. And the presenter said, what do we think, everyone? And they went around the room. They said, yeah, it's a really good presentation, but didn't believe him. And I thought, I really took a moment.
First, you were outraged.
And, that was the topic. That was the main bit of feedback from everyone, that they didn't believe what I was saying. They didn't believe that I believed it, and that really made me sit up and realise, absolutely, there's no good being that grey consultant that is absolutely spot on in structure. What you've got to do is bring your personality through. You've got to be authentic. You've got to bring yourself into what you're saying, and that makes you believable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when you did that course. I'm assuming it was before we met, because that was what made me sort of, really sit up and listen. You came in, you speak to loads of people, and I say loads of clever people out there, but you came in and you did that differently. You present it with a momentum and a way of speaking that is fun, it's enjoyable, but also you feel like you've actually learned something. So I'm assuming you did that course. I think we talk about learning. One of the things that you said to me once, like a knife to my heart, was very much, you weren't looking at the screen, Matt. So hopefully now you can see I'm staring at the screen. But they are these little things, aren't they? You think you're brilliant because you do it in a day out and stuff. It's not till someone sometimes points something out and you go, but the difference is the people that can go, yeah, absolutely, and then they change that, and then the people that say, no, you're all wrong, I'm right. And I think, like you said, a good job is learning every day, and it can be those little things that just change the whole way you're able to deliver something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they say feedback's a gift, and even positive or negative feedback is a gift. I play quite a lot of tennis, and if I'm being coached at tennis, I don't want the coach to tell me what I'm doing right. I want the coach to tell me what I'm doing wrong,
Yeah,
so I can change it. And
yeah.
it's the same with feedback in the workplace. If no one ever tells you what you're doing wrong, then how are you ever going to improve?
And I do wonder sometimes with a sort of a younger generation, the ability. I feel like I grew up certainly being whipped down, certainly in my younger years, and it gives you a bit of sort of grit and stuff. And I think sometimes maybe a younger generation doesn't like that feedback. Do you have to change the way that you deliver feedback now? Do you find that the sort of the messaging has to change and things?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it
Yeah.
needs to be much softer and in a different way. But you still need to give that feedback at times. I think the other thing is direct feedback. So, absolutely not beating around the bush, but giving direct feedback, but softening it with, you're a great guy. We're not.
You're really nice, but
You could be, exactly. They call it the shit sandwich, don't they?
Exactly that. Exactly that. No, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that often it's just the icing on the cake. It's that 1%. If you could do this 1% slightly differently, then it would make a big, big difference. And it is an icing on the cake thing. You're fantastic normally, but
Yeah. Um, I'm conscious on time. We've only got 50 minutes. I only got a hard stop today, but I really want to dig into AI and how you can feel. A load of the conversations that we've been having across this podcast, we've talked to loads of different people. Some are super deep in tech, some aren't. Everyone talks about how AI is affecting. What could we talk about? We can maybe touch on how it's affecting energy transition, or just your sort of general thoughts in the current space. I'm sort of free really for you to dig in on either of those spaces, really.
I think a lot of my job is looking forward, looking at what might happen in the future. You look too far in the future, artificial general intelligence coming along, that is scary.
Yeah.
And the amount of jobs that will replace. I think there's still some challenges with AI today. So, for instance, I was traveling to Dublin last week. I was flying British Airways, and on the ticket, it didn't say which terminal. So I went into Gemini, as one does, and typed in which terminal in Heathrow does British Airways fly to Dublin. Came back Terminal 2. Great. So I went to Terminal 2. It was actually Terminal 5.
There we go.
Took me an hour
Yeah. I
to
was
get.
going to say, did you miss
No,
the flight then? No.
yeah, I didn't. But it took me an hour to get there, and meant that I was an hour later coming home as well. So yeah, it's
Cautionary tale.
a cautionary tale about AI. I think
Yeah,
we're using it almost every day in our
yeah,
day-to-day
of
jobs
course.
now, and that will only increase. I don't think people should be scared in the short term in our sort of business. I think people need to embrace this and work out how best to utilize it. Those people are going to be the last to be replaced by AI. Um, so embrace it as much as possible today.
I saw a post on LinkedIn yesterday, and it was a thought leader talking around AI, and there was an article from a magazine in America saying that they'd interviewed some IT guys that are sort of more out of the main states and sort of in America, and so absolutely no to AI. We won't be looking at it for at least another 5 years and stuff. And I sort of commented on that post saying, well, to me, that's really lovely. That's a really great thought, but you're only as good as your sort of competitors. And as soon as you're starting to lose footfall, your CEO or your FD is going to say, that's very nice, Mr. IT gateholder, but we need to get on board and stuff like that. Do you think that it's inevitable that we go there? I mean, you say about cautionary tales there, but do you think it's inevitable that we just have to go, or would you ever see a world in which we should be holding back maybe sometimes on some of that thought about going deep into?
No, I think we should embrace it as much as possible. The thing that really annoys me, I've got 3 children in university education at the moment, and they are not using AI nearly enough. And
Wow,
sure,
right, okay.
they're just not allowed to. And that just is ridiculous to me. We're trying to prepare children within the university system for the workplace. We're using it so much. Universities should be as well. They should be embracing it.
There's something that they're talking about at my daughter's school around AI, and it's almost like they know all the kids now are going home and doing half of their homework on AI. So it's almost the questions that are somewhat coming back, and it's just being played with at the moment. Is okay. You answered these questions, but how did you go about structuring those answers? What was your thought process to get there and stuff? Because like I say, it's not going anywhere. Children will always hack the system. Children will always find a way to be. We all do, don't we? We all find a way to get there quicker. So rather than saying absolutely don't use AI, because all a kid's going to do is say, ChatGPT, please write me this in a way that doesn't look like I've used AI. So actually engaging with the class about how maybe they've engaged. And I think a lot of people could take that as well. We've only got 10 minutes, so I'm really pushing fast on this. Energy transition, and in your space, how can AI help? It's clearly helping in multiple ways. Is there certain things you're seeing, trends that you would sort of want to talk about there?
No,
No.
I don't think we're obviously using it, but not
Yeah.
as a support mechanism, not something to drive the energy transition.
No. Okay. And if you were to see a change away from E.ON and different things, a change that you would want to see the energy market make, is there something that you think you just see, it almost seems so clear and obvious that you would want everyone to just jump on board with?
Yeah, I do. So the electrification of heat. So the energy transition, what that actually means is moving away from fossil fuel to electricity. At the moment, there's a major issue with that in the UK, that gas is 3 or 4 times cheaper than electricity. So why would anyone replace their gas central heater with an electric option? And I think what we need to do is wake up and smell the coffee and say that just isn't going to happen. And people are not going to make decisions, green decisions, without a financial reason.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
So that would be my that we should stop trying to look at heat pumps as the main solution and work on different options to decarbonise.
Okay. And do you think that's sort of subsidies of things like heat pumps, or is it just new tech? It's just a new idea?
I think there's multiple answers to that, Matt. So the first thing is if carbon output is in 3 types. There's sort of residential, which is about a third, business, which is about a third, and transport, which is about a third. Now, the easiest one to tackle is transport. And the reason is because we already have a cost-effective solution for it, which is EV cars. Why don't more people buy EV cars? 4% of all cars in the UK are EV at the moment.
4%.
4%.
If you'd have asked me as a pop quiz, I would have said 30, 35. I feel like I see them more than 4%.
Yeah,
That's
but
wild.
interestingly enough, all new registration cars at the moment, 30% of all new registrations are EVs. And the reason for that is the salary sacrifice deals that you can get on it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it makes financial sense. People vote with their wallets. Okay, so the reason that more people don't have EV cars, well, a lot of it is upfront cost. A lot of it is range anxiety.
Yes, that's what I hear. That's the one that people would say to me, how do I go to Manchester from Exeter?
So some of the other things are 40% of properties in the UK don't have driveways, and therefore you can't charge your car yourself overnight and make it cheap. And we've tried everything. We've tried charges through the pavement in a gully. We've tried overhead. Neither are really good solutions.
Okay. Yeah. No.
I've got two things. The first is the way to make every car EV, and this is like real blue sky thinking. The government would need to mandate a standard battery size and all of the batteries removable. And then what you do,
Yeah.
drive into a petrol station, and a machine would take your battery out and put a fully charged new one in. And then you drive off, and then they would charge your old one up.
Well, it's not dissimilar to how if you've got like a gas barbecue, right? You buy the gas barbecue full, and when it's empty, you give them the empty, and they give you a new one.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, that would need a regulation. Well, it need a government initiative, but they've done it before. They did it with seatbelts. If they were serious about, net zero, then that would make a massive difference. The other thing that we are actually looking at the moment, and that's induction charging. So you've got a phone, and you can put it on an induction pad and it would charge. You can do the same with a car. So it's to retrofit your car. It's quite expensive at the moment. It's maybe £1,000 or £2,000, but you can put an induction pad on your car underneath to charge the battery, and then you park over an induction plate, and that would charge your car. So we're looking at that, and we're starting off with disabled people. Disabled people are underrepresented in EV ownership, and part of the reason is it's very difficult to actually get out of your car, and then with mobility issues, try and plug an EV charger in. Even more difficult if you've got a terraced house. So, but what we could do, and interestingly enough, the people who are leading the way in this thinking in the UK is Coventry University. So could we make a deal with Coventry University, Coventry City Council, to take some disabled users, and they've already got a parking bay marked out, put an induction pad in that. Coventry University have done some trials in this. They actually did it in Nottingham for some reason, with taxi drivers. And what they found is that you've got to be within about 5 centimetres of the induction pad for it to work.
Height-wise?
No. Yeah.
Right, as in the sweet spot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we love that. We love those problems because we can solve them.
Yes.
And just thinking off the top of my head, well, just make the induction pad bigger. You could, do a high-tech solution, which you could write an app that was like, one of those old games where you're a jet fighter and you had to put the crosshairs in.
All too well, yeah.
Put that in, CarPlay, and then you'd park over until you actually got there. Or just a low-tech solution, just put a rumble strip on the parking bay, so when your tyres hit it, you knew when to stop. So those things, let's try them. Let's see which one of those might work. But the vision, 20 years from now, the M25 currently has 600,000 cars every day on it. If we could make it into an induction roadway, you drive round the M25 and you would charge your car as you're driving. They're trialing it in Germany at the moment.
Really?
We've actually done it in the UK in Milton Keynes about 10 years ago. So it's absolutely possible. It needs new thinking, new tech, and investment to actually do. So we're trying to get a meeting with Highways Agency. If anyone out there knows anyone in the Highways Agency, give me a shout.
This is exactly the reason why I wanted you to come on. But like all of a sudden, I'm just excited about EV charging on cars. I never thought I would be. And that's not just the tech. That's the way that you're able to deliver these things. It's the way you can tell a story, like you said, to sort of get those people on. I am conscious that we've only got 1 minute left. So what I might do, if you're up for it, is that we revisit some of these sort of concepts and ideas and delve into some of the little bit more nerdy in places. But as it's deadlines and detours, I think I know the answer to this, but have you learned more from a deadline or a detour kind of in your career?
I think a detour, definitely.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got some good ones to tell you later, Matt. And also, I haven't gone through the thing that I wanted to go through, which was the philosophy that I'll try and live by.
Yeah, I think we just need to come back. So I think what we do this is that introduction to Will, and just someone who made a major impact in a very short period of my time that I wanted to talk to. Let's come back in a few weeks when you've got time, and let's go into that. I'd absolutely love it. Thank you so much for today. It's been fascinating, just that short period of time.
Thanks, Matt. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.